We're live.
There we go. Good afternoon, members and officers, and any members of the public and press which are joining us today. This is the Learning and Skills Scrutiny Committee of Wednesday, 14th of December 22, starting time of 2 o'clock, so we're not far off. Welcome to you all. Members, the first item on your agenda is apologies for absence. Members, at this point, I'm going to inform you that Ian McIntosh has expressed a desire to leave the committee due to ongoing work commitments. So we are one member short now. And my understanding is that this will go to the Conservative political group to appoint a member. So that's the reason for no contribution from Councillor Ian. Wynne, have we received any other apologies?
No others, Chair.
Thank you. Members, before we move on to item 2, I would like to introduce to you a new member, a new officer in Scrutiny who will be helping and assisting us in learning and skills. Rather than me give you a long drawn out introduction, I will ask Kath just to introduce herself so that we're all familiar with her face. Welcome, Kath.
Chair. Well, yeah. Hello to everybody. Hello, councillors and officers. Yeah, I'm one of the 2 new Democratic and Scrutiny support officers in Wynn's team, and I will be, as Chair just recently said, I will be supporting this committee going forward. Any problems, any issues, anything you want to raise, obviously Wynn will be supporting me, but if you need to bring anything to my attention, please do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Kath. Welcome. I'm welcoming you on behalf of everybody, and we certainly look forward to working with you moving forward. Members, item 2 on your agenda is disclosures of interest. Has any member got any disclosure they'd like to make? Judging on your silence, there is nothing. Item 3 on your agenda, just on disclosure of interest. I think we received an email, didn't we, Wynne, from Councillor Matt. He's joining the meeting late, and I believe he's declaring on some better school. So if he's joining us at some point, he's asked us to be diplomatic. He may be joining when we're actually in the middle of that debate. So please bear with us when he joins, that he will be making a declaration and leaving the meeting. Item 3 on your agenda, declarations of party whip. I'm not going to read the agenda. It's all there for everybody to read. Has anybody got a declaration at item 3?
No.
No, again, judging on your silence. Item 4 on your agenda are the minutes of our previous meetings. We'll take the minutes of the 29th of June 22, the pages 5 to 19 in your agenda pack. I'm not going to take them through you because they've had adequate circulation. Is anybody happy to propose that I can sign them as a true correct record?
Yeah, I'm happy to propose those.
Seconded. All in favour? Please speak up. It's the joys of... Oh, there's your Christmas background, Lucy. We're all jealous. Please speak up. The joys of meeting online is we'll take them as read unless anybody speaks up. So I will sign them at the appropriate time. The meeting of the 15th of July, page 20 to 26 in your agenda pack. Again, do I have a proposer and a seconder?
Yeah, again, happy to propose.
Thank you. Seconder?
Yes.
Thank you. All in favour? Silence once again. Great stuff. I'm going to sign them at the appropriate time. And the minutes of the 28th of September, pages 27 to 40 in your agenda pack.
Yes, Gwynfor.
Proposer, thank you, Gareth, and a seconder.
Yeah.
Thank you, and all in favour. Thank you. That takes care of item 4 on your agenda, and that suggests we're dead on time. So let's hope we can keep up to the timescales on our agenda. Item 5 on your agenda, members, we've got considerable documentation before us today, and so if we can try and keep to the timescales that have been suggested, be very grateful. But the first item at item 5 is 5.1 performance report, Q2. Quite a significant report, and I'm going to hand over to Councillor Pete to take us through this, or direct us to the officer who's going to take us through the report. Thank you, Councillor Pete.
Thank you, Councillor Gwynfor. I'm going to pass you across to Lynette as Director of Education, who will be taking you through this report and introducing officers to look at any particular sections of it as appropriate. Thank you, Lynette.
Thank you, Councillor Pete. Thank you, Chair. You'll see before you the main section today of this large document, as you say, SWAY document there. The main section for the education and school service is under the learning and skills section within the SWAY document. Just to inform you that obviously we've been through a robust process to get to the place that this the report is before you today. As a service area, we meet with our portfolio holder to be able to demonstrate our progress in our key performance indicators. We go through a robust process with the service management team to challenge each other before we bring it here as part of the corporate quarterly 2 reporting today. So a robust process goes on, and we have effective challenge from each other and from our portfolio holder around our performance indicators. I'm going to hand over here now to Georgie Bevan, Head of Education, who with service managers who are with us today, particularly for this item, as they have areas and key performance indicators that they are responsible for in the plan. And so they will come in to go through. We won't go at length because obviously you've had the document, and any questions and queries that you do have would be, they were here to answer. But Georgie will just give a brief introduction, Chair, before any questions, if that's okay. Thank you, Georgie.
Thank you, Lynette.
Diolch yn fawr, Lynette. I'm just going to try and share my screen. So if everybody's with me on that one while I work with that. Okay, so share my screen. Screen 1. Okay, can we see my screen? That's the first question, if that's okay with people. Can you tell me if you can see it?
Not at the moment, Georgie.
No.
Oh, right. Okay. Hang on. Let's go again. Right. Oh, there we go. See if it'll work now. Can we see it now?
Yep.
Yep.
Lovely. Now. Okay. Thank you. I've got a little bit of a problem because my icons are at the top that I need to be working with. So if I go back down here, hopefully it'll let me pop it out here. Right. There we go. Okay, so if I go to education here, then you can see we've got the quartile 1 and down to the quartile 2. We've got an amber within this section here, which is linked to the Quetheb Powys 6th. We've just launched this year in terms of the new Powys 6 form, and we are incorporating vocational offers within the curriculum offer this year for the first time. So it was amber because that wasn't included when we launched it in the first year. So as the second year, we're now progressing to include that. If I then go to the measures, if I've just got everything right here. Okay, so if I go with the red first, okay, hang on, it's learning and it's education, sorry. They're not all my responsibility, thank goodness. Okay, so the red for us on the measures is that we haven't reduced the number of primary schools in the county in line with our timeline. And again, obviously the conversations we'll be having today as part of the scrutiny discussions will be in link to those discussions. But that's obviously put us a red there against that measure. If I now look to the amber, we've got various elements here. The one regarding the ALN is really we just can't hit the number of 14 because one of the members of staff is no longer on the programme. So the other 13 have completed the programme, but it can't be green because we haven't had all 14 complete it, but that member of staff is no longer available. We've then also got the next one there, the number of pupils educated through the medium of Welsh in year will increase. Again, we have obviously had our WESP signed off, and we have appointed a new Welsh medium lead who will be with us in January, and those improvements are being made, but we're not at green yet because we haven't made that improvement by the end of this year. So we've still got obviously till April 22 for that, and we are working really closely with our schools around the Welsh medium provision. And again, the element there, by March 2025, we'll have increased the number of new school builds in Condition A and B in Powys by 8 schools. And there were no new school builds in 21-22. And again, that will link to the transformation agenda there, but we have got the commentary there. Okay. The green, we weren't challenged on within our Q2 performance, were we, Councillor Peat? But I'm not sure if anybody, other areas anybody else would like me to talk through, but those are our mains that were red and amber, I think. But again, please do direct me because this is the first time I've managed this document online with people as well. Any comments from anybody?
Any comments at this stage?
What?
Yeah.
Come on in, just chip in. Councillor Lucy, followed by Councillor Aled.
Yeah, it was just looking at the fact that the transforming education was green, I think, overall, but an important bit of that I assumed was the primary schools and reducing the number of primary schools. So I just wondered how, when we're way down on the 20 reduction in 20 primary schools, the transforming education element could be green.
There are obviously significant different elements to it, and I think in the original SWAY document you can see that we have achieved quite a few of the transformation priorities in terms of the opening of Broker Ryan, etc. But I will bring Marianne in, if that's okay, to just talk through why it's overall it is green. But we've got the list, I know, within the SWAY document. Marianne, are you able to come in on that one?
Georgie, just before she does come in, can I just develop that a little bit, because I'm.
Sorry.
No, it's absolutely fine, because it's leading on from Lucy's question. Is because I'm a little bit confused with this, because it's picked up a little bit of headlines this week because it was discussed in the Economy and Residence meeting on Monday in relation to the progress in the transformation process and whether it's been relaunched. I'm unclear whether this is still the political desire. Is it still the target to reduce the primary schools by 20 schools by 2025?
Marianne, can I come to you now, if that's okay?
But the target hasn't changed.
Okay.
That is a target we're working to, and as you see on the presentation there from Georgie, there's a lot of activity happening anyway, and the transformation programme is wider than just the closure of small schools. So it encompasses post-16 and the Welsh medium developments and ALN developments and the school builds, etc. So that's why we thought it is still on track and making progress. So different elements within the overall transformation programme may be at different stages, but overall it's still on green.
Thank you, Marianne. I'm going to bring Emma, followed by Lynette in, because I'm suggesting they're raising their hands before I bring in other members in, because they're going to add to this now, please. Emma first, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yeah, just to confirm that at the moment we are still working to the delivery of Vision 2025, which was the corporate plan of the previous administration, and within that they had set clear targets in terms of delivery. We're working with the new administration on their new corporate plan, stronger, fairer, greener, but that is yet to be approved. We're currently out engaging on that at present, and the intention will be that for stronger, fairer, greener final corporate plan to come before council in the new year in parallel with the budget and the medium-term financial strategy. Once that's approved, we will then move to implement that plan and the associated measures and targets in line with the new administration's ambition. So I'm afraid this year is always a difficult one, where we're transitioning from one administration to the next. But as officers, there's a plan that you know, we still have to move forward with delivery until something new is agreed. And as Marianne said, in terms of the transformation, there are 4 strategic aims within the transformation. The measure that's identified as red is purely in relation to schools reorganisation or organisation, whereas the separate areas, Welsh medium, the post-16 and also the additional learning needs and special educational needs are also significant areas that we're required to deliver on. I hope that's clearer, Chair, and apologies for the confusion at present in that transition from one plan to the next.
Thank you, Emma. Lynette, please.
Thank you, Chair. As has already been said, it is a wide transformation programme. I just wanted to make a reference here, although I don't think it's in the SWAY document, around specifically the ALN transformation. Hayley is here, but probably I won't say it, but I will say it, that actually the ALN transformation work that's been undertaken has been recognised by Estin in their annual report as being of really good practice to be shared. So I think that certainly deserves a green there, but I just wanted to make reference to that. There's a lot of work streams, and that one in particular has made a lot of progress and has been recognised by Estin as being of excellent practice. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for your contributions. Councillor Allard, please.
Thank you, Chair. My question was around the relevance of the targets and how much time we should spend on this. Perhaps it's more of a political question to the portfolio holder. Is there much time? Should we be wasting much time on looking at these targets, or are they going to radically change in a few months' time, especially the red one that we're looking at this moment? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Allard. As has been made clear in the relaunch of the documents, my approach is around catchment review and looking across a catchment. Obviously, catchment reviews throw up different solutions. And to my view, prejudging that by saying we will be closing X number of schools, when that review may actually show that that is not the best thing, is not the approach I will be taking.
Okay, so you won't be having a target around this in the future?
No, I would not be envisaging a target saying I'm going to close X number of schools. The reviews may show that there are schools that require closing, but I'm not going to put a number on something that I don't know exists. That runs very close to predetermination to me.
Okay, that sort of indicates that you don't have. I don't like to use the word a master plan or a vision. You don't appear to have a vision for the future look of the school estate across Powys.
I wouldn't put it that way. I have a vision that I will deliver education in the most appropriate way, looking at all of the issues affecting a catchment, including early local consultation, the fabric and structure of the school population and the school buildings, and determining in partnership with the community what is the best way to deliver education for our pupils in the face of what is a very significantly changing population in our county.
Okay, thank you. It'll be interesting to see how this ties up with the funding elements, the budgetary elements of Powys County Council, and look forward to seeing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Allard.
If I can develop that from the chair, I find that slightly worrying in view of the work that we're conducting today, because it's contrary to what the documents which we are viewing. The transfers from documents are there, and they're very clear what the direction is. And the portfolio, as a portfolio, Councillor Peat, you're telling us that's not the approach that you'll be following.
The approach is quite consistent. The paper that we have in front of us on Crickhowl is the first of the catchment reviews that we are doing. It's off the back of a proposal to take advantage of the delay in Plan Better to look at the catchment as a whole, but that is entirely consistent with the approach that is laid out in the Wave 2 of the transformation programme.
Well, the 1.3 learning and skills, and it clearly reads the Transform Education Programme was relaunched. As part of the relaunch, there will be an updation of the Council strategy for Transform Education in Power. So that currently in that relaunch of that document is that you are still continuing with the closure of 20 schools.
Could I come in there, Chair?
Yeah, please do.
Slightly. So there was a relaunch of the strategy, and I think the corporate plan and the strategy are two different documents.
Okay.
The corporate plan, as it stands currently under Vision 2025, sets targets. The strategy is a separate document to the corporate plan. The strategy the strategy has been relaunched and was done so back in July. I think I've got the right month, July of this year at the Royal Welsh Show. So the reference that the portfolio holder is making in terms of catchment reviews is the approach in which we undertake the work of the transformation, really, that rather than bringing individual proposals before the Cabinet, there was a request from the portfolio holder that we undertake a catchment review where we can, so that then we would be looking at a number of schools in the area, but the portfolio holder has not set out any specific target yet within the draft corporate plan in terms of school closures, as the portfolio holder referred to earlier, and is not inclined to do so moving forward. Thank
you, Emma, but please stay there now. So explain to me then that the delay is portraying a red. So is not what you're speaking about now going to prefer further delay?
The red is against a target of the previous administration set out a target for closing X number of schools, because they were clear within the strategy that they launched. The rationalisation of primary schools was a key element. And in doing so, they did set about a target for delivery in terms of reduction, and that was on the basis of keeping pace, really, in terms of the delivery that was required. So this is where I would say we're at odds between one administration to the other, and a former plan being in existence versus the new plan of an administration which is yet to come before council. So it's a difficult space this first year of a new administration, when we're still working to a plan of the former administration. It is challenging.
Okay. Yeah, let's let that go. Councillor Jeremy. Councillor Jeremy, were you with us? You're still.
I was muted.
Yeah,
it was really a comment on the form that Georgie had put on the screen before that I just didn't quite understand.
Okay.
Were you able to share that again, Georgie?
Yes, I can. I just get it ready. So hang on. So share.
There we go. It's with us.
There
now,
we go.
Georgie.
Got that one.
So it's on the third of the targets there. You're saying that the target is to, or the measure is to increase the number of new school builds in condition A, B, and I was confused because is that a measure that's wanting to measure the number of new school builds, or those in condition A, B? Because I thought all new builds are going to be in a good condition. So which is it trying to achieve? I was just a bit confused.
No, I completely agree. A new school would be in condition A. So I think it's in terms of building those new schools for to be in condition A. Though I don't know if we categorise A, B, C and then D, but I don't know if anybody here can support with that decision for me, but I think it is big. We are in wanting to increase the number of new builds, but also make sure our other schools are increasing in the categories that they are in and improved.
Right, okay. So
Shall I come in? Can I?
Yes.
Come in,
Take
Yeah,
a while, Marianne.
You are correct. The new schools would be categorised as condition A, but what we're also saying, if we have significant remodelling of schools, then they could be categorised as condition Bs. They wouldn't necessarily be condition A schools. So that's why, but it is around the school building programme, that one. Okay, does that help?
okay, thanks. Yes.
Thank you. I've lost my hands up there for a minute, so I'm not who should. Councillor Lucy, please.
Yeah, thank you. It was just again. Oh, sorry, I've lost my train of thought now.
Would you like me to come back to you, Councillor Lucy?
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, it was about post 16. And just the fact that my understanding, and I may have misunderstood or misremembered this, was that there's some concern amongst the sixth form, amongst heads, that they were unclear about what their budgets were for sixth form and which subjects they were actually going to be able to run or not, and that's taken a long time coming through. So I wondered if there was any more information on that.
In terms of the post-16, the part of the process now in this term, which you've been going underway with, is working with all of the head teachers regarding the curriculum offer. So as part of that, we've taken into account from the grass polls, sort of what children would like to do, potentially how many classes we can run within the north and the south. We've also looked at the potential of a hybrid model where possible to reduce travel between schools. So all of those discussions have been going on this term. In terms of the funding, that's all been made clear with them, and that was agreed. And we've got 2 seconded head teachers that are working with us on that. One of them is leading on the finances, so he's in regular communication with all the head teachers and they are aware of the funding model. And then we've got another one who's working, he's a deputy head in one of our schools, and he's working with us around a transportation policy, so making sure that we've got a good transport policy now in terms of managing in the day travel if we have to have it. But this year has shown a significant reduction in the amount of learners that are needing to travel from school to school. So as part of this provision now is we've focused on reducing the course offer down, and we've started with the A-level courses in the north and the south, and that will generate the block offer in the different blocks, which the SMB next week will approve or not approve. And then the next level now is the vocational offer to sit within that. So we're working with various providers. MPTC obviously is our main provider, but we have had a meeting last week with other providers as to what courses they could provide, and whether they're, even if they're short courses, how we can work with employers, etc. So that's our next phase. And then the intention is to do careers advice and promotion of the Power 6 next term.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you, Georgie. Councillor Aled.
Just a quick one on there's quite a bit of pink. Is it pink?
Yes.
No data collected sort of issues. You know, are you going to start collecting the data, or do you collect it and not publish it? Because I know in governor meetings there's discussion about attendance percentage, etc., etc. Are you aware of how our schools are performing?
We do have access to data from schools regarding attendance, etc. And we do have access to some of the information regarding performance in the summer. However, it's purely at a school's opportunity to share that with us for our information. Nothing's been verified nationally. We aren't expected to report on that data. So we don't have access to that data to be able to share it publicly, because we don't have a comparison or the verification by families as it used to be, or like for like with CAP 9, etc. So the data will come back around the CAP 9, but we're you know, a lot of the data such as levels, etc., will not come back now with the curriculum for Wales. So we will have our own holistic picture of where schools are.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I was not only examination. I was talking about attendance. Which way does that data flow? Does it come to you first?
Yeah, well,
Welsh government.
We have
just wondering whether you could actually publish post numbers.
We have access to Sims Connect, which you've purchased, so that we can monitor attendance figures within Powys, and we do have information, but it's not publishable. But I shall bring in Lynette if that's okay, Chair, on that one.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, as you know, Councillor Aled, we've been, the situation since COVID is that we can't report the performance data nationally and for Powys, but we do. Our schools are very good at sharing the data so that they can work effectively together. So they do have access to all of that, and you'll have seen this week that one of our schools was in the top 10 in the times that data has been found and compared. But for us going forward, I think this is really important with the new corporate plan now, when we're looking at the measures that we can, because it's really important for you at Scrutiny and for Cabinet as well, and our portfolio holder, to really have an understanding of how well or not schools are performing. And so we will need a different set of data, as you've mentioned there, Councillor Aled, things like attendance data, exclusion data, data about admissions, where is there a lot of movement happening with schools, are there issues there? So we can collect, and we are collecting data centrally that's not in the current corporate plan, but moving forward in the new corporate plan, there are different measures that we can put in so that yourselves in Scrutiny and indeed Cabinet and our portfolio holder can hold us to account about some of the measures that we will put in going forward. There will be things, but as Georgie has already said, the way that we're collecting that intelligence data is one part, but it's also about our officers going into schools and being able to assess progress, looking at the school development priorities for our schools and assessing against that as well. So we will make sure going forward, as part of the new corporate plan, there are measures of a kind in there so that you can scrutinise the performance of us and our schools.
Yeah. Thank you, Lynette. Councillor Liz.
Oh, thank you, Chair. My question was about the A and B maintenance of schools, and at a recent document I saw, it looked like some of the new schools had got no maintenance backlog. And in terms of trying to keep as many schools in A and B, I just wondered if is that indicating that there is no maintenance being done on our new schools, or is that the backlog?
In terms of our new schools, that if they have needed work, they have had it done, obviously. But in terms of the demand on the property team and things like that, they aren't the ones that are requiring the maintenance at the moment. With a lot of the work that the property team is doing is just maintenance or an emergency repair.
Right. I guess the worry is that if new schools don't get maintained on a regular basis, then they fall into disrepair, don't they?
Well, they are. Sorry, apologies. They are being maintained on a regular basis. They've got their own site managers, etc., that would be maintaining them and bringing any issues to our attention. They're just not in our in the costing because they're being managed on site because they're not needing that. Apologies.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I come in on there as well?
Go on, Lynn.
Okay, just to say that all schools have grant funding for property maintenance as well, so they are responsible themselves for some of the more minor which, as you say, can become major. So all schools get that grant funding as well in their budgets.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Prynawn da, Councillor Bryn. We do have some translation with us. Members, is everybody clear how the translation works on Zoom?
Yep. Yes.
Similar apply, Chair, for any members of the public listening at home. So if you want to press the interpretation button at the bottom of the screen on the black bar across the bottom of the screen, and then change it to English, and then you'll hear the translation coming through.
Yep, thank you, and welcome to Eilis, who's translating with us today as well. So, Prynawn da, Councillor Bryn.
Diolch Cadeirydd. Yn mynd yn ôl yn sydyn at yr ateb ar ei Georgie Roy I cwestiwn Lucy a cysylltiedig ar chweched ac yn y blaen. A ni'n deall bod y trefnwyr amser yn chweched yn mynd trwad yn ffindio allan pa bynciau mae'r disgyblion eisiau. mae gen I concern am hynny, achos dydy yn sicr llynedd ar y ddim digwydd, dydy ddim cynnig pynciau lefel A trwy gyfrwng Cymraeg, a sy'n digon posib bydd yn hawdd i'w dysgu trwy cyfrwng Cymraeg. Dydy'r disgyblion ddim yn mynd i ofyn amdano nhw, achos dydyn nhw ddim profiad o'r argeilydd yn sicr yn Powys. Ac felly, fyswn ni'n hoffi tase'r wybodaeth sy'n mynd allan i'r rhieni yn ogystal â'r disgyblion, achos dydyn nhw ddim digwydd llynedd i mi wybod. Ac dydy o ddim yn ddigon da jyst i weld be mae'r myfyrwyr eisiau. Mae rhaid i Bowys fod yn fwy strategol a cynnig be sydd angen ar Bowys i'r ddisgyblion mae gael. Dwi'n meddwl yn benodol yr esiampl dwi wedi dod fyny efo, wrth gwrs, ydy'r ffiseg trwy gyfrwng y Gymraeg. Gafodd o mwy gynnig i mhlentyn i nac i neb arall chwaith. Mae o'n wendid ar y drefn sydd gan chweched.
Diolch, Bryn. Anybody like to pick up on those comments?
Yeah, can you hear me again?
Yeah, go for it, Georgie.
Excellent, Chair. Diolch yn fawr, Councillor Bryn, for those comments. It's certainly things that we are aware of, and we've been working really closely with the heads in those discussions around ensuring we've got the Welsh medium offer as well as the English medium offer. I think the other element to it as well is coming back to my first point about that careers advice. That's come through this term, that we need to be really proactive with our learners and our parents and stakeholders regarding what their needs are, their interests, so we can ensure that that curriculum offer meets those needs. And again, part of the work moving forward as well will be looking at the Key Stage 4 offer in both mediums to ensure that learner pathway transitions from Key Stage 4 to Key Stage 5 in both mediums. I think it's worth saying here as well, the Yes Goal provision that we ran last year really very successfully has been acknowledged by Welsh Government as well as a really good resource that can be built on, and we're meeting with them after Christmas to look at that as well. So I'm aware that's something that the previous group that worked on this brought in, but actually, you know, it's something that's been a real driving force around our decisions in trying to agree this curriculum offer for this upcoming September 23.
Yeah, okay, iawn. Ond mae'n bwysig bod pan mae'r blwyddyn 11 rwan yn rhoi ei dymuniadau i mewn, bod y sir yn mapio pwy o blith y disgyblion hynny sydd ar gallu i ddilyn y cyrsiau trwy cyfrwng y Gymraeg. Ac wedyn ceisio falle dwi'n perswad neu sicr cynnig cyfle real iddyn nhw cael gwneud hwnnw trwy cyfrwng y Gymraeg. Achos dda ddim digwydd llynedd a gobeithio wnaeth o ddigwydd eleni. Diolch.
Absolutely, I'm in complete agreement, and it is one of our focuses to ensure that we do increase the Welsh medium offer at post 16 as well as at Key Stage 4 as well.
Okay, diolch.
Thank you, Georgie. Members, I think we've exhausted questions there. Georgie, is there anything else that we should be discussing in relation to the performance report? No.
Nothing really, no. And just in terms of whether you want me to give you an update on the finance as well.
Yeah, no, I was gonna move on to finance next and then the risk. So you're taking us through fine. Oh, sorry, Lucy's got her hand up.
No, I was just going to ask whether we were covering finance.
Yeah, no, we're taking them in turn. Finance report now, it's 5.2 on your agenda and 43 to 70. Members, please be mindful of the fact that we're dealing with learning and skills today. So education is the only finance that we really need to be looking at. Obviously, I realise there's a lot of detail in there, but let's not go into that today, please. Georgie, once again.
Diolch yn fawr, thank you, Chair. Just really an update from us for this financial year is that we've made significant savings in year by using grants as efficiently and as effectively as possible. We have had some additional grants, and I was able to carry forward some grants when I started, obviously in line with terms and conditions as well. So from that perspective, we've been able to reduce our spend quite a significant amount down in the last quarter, and that's been really positively received by the finance team. And it's through really good work with our senior management and our other teams. We've used extended senior managers as well to make those decisions. And we've also worked really closely with our accountants. So really, really pleased with the progress we've made. And in terms of the next financial year as well, we've made the amount of proposals we need to narrow our gap as well there. So really pleased with the progress that we've made there.
Okay, members, I'm open to questions. Again, there was quite a large document to consider. Members, any comments at this stage? Councillor Lucy, followed by Margaret.
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions. One was to do with there was something about home to school transport. That there was a 417k overspend on home to school transport, and I wondered whether that was just due to whether the contractors have put their costs up because of the increasing fuel costs, or whether there was something else within that. And also, just on the same vein, really, environment to home to school transport in relation to post 16. And again, I just wondered what that was about.
In terms of the home to transport, obviously that's not my budget, that's the transport budget. So, but I would say that I work really closely with John Forty and his team, and we are aware of the cost pressures because of obviously fuel increases, etc. The environment from across from my budget to the post 16 transport was to support the in the day transport of part of the QuethEd offer, and that money was available within our spend plan, so we transferred that across to help the finance team with covering the costs of the in day transport as part of the QuethEd powers.
Yeah.
Margaret, please.
Yeah, two things. One is the first one, the grants that have got to be spent by the end of the financial year. We always have this, and it's always frustrating, and I know how frustrating it is, because you've suddenly got this money that's got to be spent. So I hope, I just say, I'm sure that's been planned very carefully, because otherwise you're spending money, quite a lot of money, quickly, and perhaps you'd spend it differently, but I'm sure you've thought it through very carefully. But it is real, and it's not in your power. Welsh government needs to get its head around it and do something more sensible about it. But yeah, the other one really is the impact, I suppose, and it is I know we're all aware of pay award that's schools are having to fund, etc. And I suppose it's moving forward. I would like to see to this committee of what that actually means to children and how it's impacted on what can be provided for them. I can see the figures, but it's actually how it's impacted in schools and the impact on children that I think, for me, is the important thing. And it's a way of getting that information across in the right way.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think Lynette's hand came up there. If on that one, if that.
I just wanted to come in on this one because I wanted to, to commend Georgie for the work she's done around grant funding, in particular with other officers. We really have got a really good system in place now. Georgie monitors it regularly with the senior team. We look at all the grant criteria. We've got a spreadsheet with all the grant criteria. We're monitoring the spend regularly, and I just wanted to commend the work of Georgie and the rest of the service for doing that, because as you rightly say, Margaret, we get them, and schools did, and we did at the end of last year, got a flood of grants at the end of the year, and so making sure we spend those appropriately and wisely is essential. But on the second point that you made around the pressures around teachers' paying conditions, obviously we will be reporting back to you as we go through the budget surgeries with our schools. Currently that's where we're at the moment, working with them really well. They're working with us effectively to look at all the pressures that they're under at the moment, and we will report back to you, particularly in Q3. That'll be, we'll have done a lot of work looking at next year's budget, and of course Q4 as well. So we will take that on board, of the impact of some of these pressures on schools are having on the pupils, but we will report that to you at another time. Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you very much. We have Councillor Lucy. Is that a legacy hand, Lucy?
No, it's a new one. I have another question around the delegated budget. And I know that the toolkit was provided with schools, and they have been given a lot of help and advice on coming in within their budgets. But I know that certainly within the last week or two, there have been schools who've been really concerned that they simply don't think they can come in within budget. And I wondered to what extent that was an issue across the county and what plans you had to deal with that.
That's a very good point, Lucy. And if I could just expand on that a little bit. I'm not sure the document portrays the narrative and the pressures that you as a service are under. And that worries me a little bit. And I'd just like you to add that when you're considering Lucy's comment, please.
Okay, Val, thank you, Councillor Gwynfor. I think at the moment we are still in the process of gathering schools recovery plans. So we have a really comprehensive picture of the schools and where each individual school is. From that point then, we are offering those follow-up surgeries looking at school by school, and I have attended some schools financial surgeries, and we've also gone in and supported some schools. We've got one after Christmas and we've had one this term where we've gone in as a team to look at every avenue of spend and see how we can support and any potential proposals. What I would really echo here is that the schools have been really collaborative with us, really honest, and we've done all that we can. Everybody's worked really closely together so that we can do that. I think anything that's coming up, we are looking at together and also sharing it with other schools through our area heads meetings. We had breakout meeting. We had area heads on Monday. We had breakout rooms for those head teachers to have that opportunity to talk to each other around those budget pressures and ideas and things that they're considering. So another element is around supporting schools with their grant spend as well, and how they're using that as effectively as possible. So, schools are working really hard and we really appreciate that. But I'd say that they're working really well with us and we are with them, and we've had very little resistance, which has been fabulous. So we're now at a point that we'll see where everybody's got to, and then we'll go back to them after Christmas and start looking at next steps and where that each school has truly got to with their plans and things like that. So no, I think it is a challenging picture, but I would say that, like I said, really thankful. Schools have been really thankful for the benchmarking tool that the BIS team and Anwen have got together, and Estin have also acknowledged that as a really good resource that other LAs could learn from. On top of that, the finance team have looked at spend patterns so that we can support individual schools or collectively as a service, and whether there's potential training, etc. needed. And also, like you said, the toolkit has been really well received, and we've had other LAs ask to have that and use that as well as just as a start point for discussions, because it is school by school. There isn't one size fits all, and our role now is to support all of those schools in the next steps.
Thank you, Georgie. Councillor Allard.
Thank you. It is along those lines, really. You working closely with schools.
Councillor Allard, I think you're a little bit quiet, I think, or is that just me? Are we picking you up? Is everybody else picking Allard up?
No.
I'm not on mute or anything.
Sit closer to your screen. Oh, we're hearing you, but very quietly.
I'm almost sitting on my screen already.
There we are. That's a little bit better.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember.
That's good,
you're working closely with schools. Did you give them indicative funding for the next few years when they were trying to when they were looking forward for the schools?
We've been waiting for confirmation from Welsh Government regarding funding levels, etc. So we've only been able to project what we would have projected normally anyway. But again, and they've got their own, so we are forecasting in line with what they've got and the data that we've been able to project with them to share with that, but we are still waiting for confirmation of final distribution, aren't we, Lynette? If I got that right?
But
Yes.
but you know, when you're drawing budgets, you need to know future
Yeah.
wage settlements, future possibly additional support going forward. I can see Mary putting a light on that. But before Mary,
thank you, Mary.
Before Mary comes in, just going back to the report on reserves, page 4, school delegated, just one line. It used to be a bit more detail, because that hides a huge variation between schools. I was wondering whether it was possible to put a table back in showing a number of schools are over, under, you know, and the net position, primary and secondary. There used to be a little table that showed that, but that's just one line there. Well, to be honest, it could appear in the appendix. It wouldn't have to be in the main body of the paper, but a little bit more informative, that would be helpful. Sorry.
Okay, diolch yn fawr. Thank you for that.
Look forward to what Mary's got to say.
No pressure. Yeah, no, just going back to the indicative funding figures, really, we did model indicative funding for the schools, but obviously that was based on the information that we had at that time, and we had to say that there were lots of caveats around that. But
Mary, we had a bit of over talking then from somebody, and I'm not sure where, but I think we missed what you started off with there. So if you could.
Oh, right. I was just saying about the indicative funding, that we did give schools some indicative funding figures, but obviously that was based on the information that we had at the time. As Georgie said, we are I think we've had the provisional settlement through, but we're still going through that and the details of that. But obviously we won't have the final settlement until March, I don't think. But you know, we have given schools some updated indicative funding based on what we knew at that time, really. But because obviously we had to give them, you know, as well as the increased costs, that we had to give them an indicative allocation of funding as well, so that they were having to work to as close to what we think their position was going to be as they could while they were trying to go through their autumn surgeries, really. We'll have a clearer picture now once we've had the opportunity to look through what schools have submitted this week, and you know, with the provisional settlement information as well.
No, and it'd be great if this committee could have a look at that work that you're. When do you hope to sort of pull a report together around the?
It'll be early in the new year, I think.
Okay, and there was fairly positive settlement from Welsh Government today as well, wasn't
it? I think that we're still working through the details, I think is what I'd have to say on that one, really.
I think noted is the best comment to make there. Yeah, members, I'm not seeing anybody else with questions on finance. If you're happy, we'll move on to the risk report of the document. I'd like to complete this by 3 o'clock if possible. So Georgie, if you just give us a few comments and we'll move on to the risk report.
Councillor Gwynfor. The main element for the risk report for us was around property maintenance, I think, from my knowledge and what we've talked through with that. And we're working very closely with the property service area and how we manage those risks and the elements of that. But that's the main focus for us at the moment. We've set up fortnightly compliance meetings with property to ensure that we're fully aware of any challenges and things as they're arising. And again, making sure that we're working as closely as possible as well with the health and safety service as well. So from that element there, you know, the biggest risk is around our property costs for us.
And are we including energy in that scenario? Yeah.
Yeah, of course, we've got now the increase in utility bills, and again, where schools are with that and what they're doing and how they're managing that. So from that perspective, we have some schools we're aware of have contacted regarding green initiatives, etc. But of course, all of these things take time, and not necessarily the replacements, etc., are available either. So those are our biggest risks, really.
Thank you. Georgie. Members open to questions. Councillor Lucy.
Yeah, again, obviously the school building work, I mean, it talks about needing to escalate the transformation progress in order to address that building stock deterioration. So I guess that's something that it's obviously really important to maintain the speed of that. But also on the risk register, it talks about the school's budget, the risk of compromising the quality of education for Paris learners. And I know you're doing everything that you can to try and minimise that, but I guess that that's got to be a concern if the costs of the council are going up for things like fuel and staffing costs that we can't address. Narrowing the curriculum and other options like that are obviously going to have an impact on learners. So I'm obviously concerned about that. And I think there was particular mention about the poor budget situation at Crickhowell High School, and I wondered what was being done to address that.
At Crickhowell Secondary?
Yeah.
In terms of, again, all of the schools we're working with on their finance surgeries around and looking at curriculum offer as well. That's included as part of that work. So we're going down in detail around curriculum offer, hours, teaching load, but also we are looking at various spend patterns as well. So I think from our perspective, all of the school improvement advisors have been involved in the finance surgeries as well, so that they can give the educational perspective in those discussions, to try and mitigate exactly what you said, the impact on learners. And again, some of our head teachers talked about various grants that schools can access as well to support with some of the work. We've also been able to support 3 of our schools in our most sort of deprived areas, if you like, with having family liaison officers as part of the community schools model. So again, we have directly funded those schools to support hopefully the most vulnerable children and families at the moment. So from that perspective, we are aware of each school budget by school budget, and we are talking about that in detail with each school, and again doing it very bespokely. So I think that's really important, and like I said, the schools have been so supportive as well as willing to have the discussions, which has been fabulous, because I don't know personally, my previous role, that wasn't always the case. So I have no opinion on the powers, but and so that's, I think those relationships have really improved. And the other element as well is we've worked with schools around their improvement planning, and how, and what budgets would potentially influence that, and what can they do, what can't they do at the moment, what they want to do. So we're looking at that too with them as well as part of the work we're doing with school support.
Thank you, Georgie.
Yeah,
thank you, Lucy.
I understand that the schools are valuing the closer working that's going on. So thank you for that.
Diolch yn fawr, thank you.
Councillor Aled.
Thank you, Chair. Just very quickly, I think it was, I've lost
You're doing
now.
it again. Get closer to your screen.
I'm literally 8, 10 inches.
There we
away
go.
from the screen.
It's with us now. Something. Gremlins are in somewhere.
Chair, can I just say I've got no problem at all. I haven't had any problem in hearing, so I'm just wondering if it's because you're possibly listening to the translation.
Okay. Thank you, Caroline.
Well, that's good to hear. That's the first time I've heard the chief exec say she hasn't got a problem with me, but pressing on. And there's a catastrophic risk under your responsibility, Pete and Lynette, I guess, and it's sorry, I've lost it now. It's ED0022, which is the funding, and that ties us real back to the transformation. Even after mitigation, it's still at 16 and still bright pink. Is this risk featuring heavily in your transformation program, and also working forward to the vision document?
I'm happy to come in. Yeah, thank you, Councillor. Yeah, yes, it is. I mean, the issue that we have and the risk around our properties and the major improvements in the backlog maintenance, etc., is a major factor for the learning environment that we need our children to be in. So it is a major factor on all, you know, everything to do with transformation. Looking at the building condition is a major factor, and it is a risk for us there. It is on the risk register because we have got significant backlog maintenance, etc., that we are managing effectively, but that we do need to ensure that, you know, in terms of transformation, we moved so that the learning environments are much better for our children. Having said that, it's not all about the learning environment. It is about high quality teaching and learning. We know that, but certainly a better learning environment it can enhance that as well. So yes, it is a major factor. Thank you, Councillor Allen.
And clearly there's strong links to the number of schools we have in Powys, hence the targets in previous years.
Yeah, I mean, obviously maintaining a number of buildings, as you know, we are maintaining a number of schools. We still have a number of schools, which is why the transformation programme is so essential.
Thank you very much. Just on the risk register, I don't pick up any commentary due to the ongoing energy costs. Do you think there should be something in the commentary in relation to energy?
I mean, I think that's a really valid point, Chair. I think from our perspective, we've only been able to gather at the moment approximate values per school by school, because some of them are fixed into different rates and things like that. So the finance team are gathering that information, and the proposed savings that we put in the toolkit are linked to an average, if you like. So I think that detail per school would be more informative but I do believe it is a risk probably that we do need to, put in more detail in the risk register, because it is a risk for all of us at the moment. We're all managing it. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and to be fair, if you go through all the other services as well, it hasn't been updated in relation to them, but it's something that we're very mindful of, isn't it?
Yeah,
members, any other comments in relation to the risk report of this document? Any further comments before we move on? I believe the document is for noting. Are members of the committee happy to note the document? I'll judge on your silence.
Yeah, happy to do so.
Thank you very much. Members, we're right on schedule. It's 3 o'clock and we're on item 6 on your agenda. I think it's appropriate now to ask if you do want a comfort break, or are you happy to make progress?
Personally happy to keep going.
Yeah, well, let's make some progress. Item 6 on your agenda is Llanbiangel, excuse my Welsh, I always have trouble pronouncing this, Rythaiddion. I hope that's a good attempt at it. It's to consider a report of the Cabinet Member of Learning Powys. Members, there's a certain history to this because we've had a Cabinet paper into scrutiny back in July. Members, we're not debating the closure of any school today. We're debating the reports in front of us. So please be mindful of that. Councillor Peat.
Thank you, Councillor Gwynfor. As you say, this is the report coming back as a result of the decision taken at the Cabinet meeting in July. The service have taken this forward and have undertaken a consultation, an engagement, the response from which is in front of you now. And I'm going to pass you across to Marianne, because obviously this is something that's coming for decision, and I'm very keen to hear your opinions on what they presented, in exactly the same way as I was pleased to hear the information that was provided back from the Welsh Medium Education Forum when they discussed this paper on Monday.
You with us, Marianne?
I am with you. Right.
There we go.
Okay,
the floor is yours.
Fine, okay, thank you. So this is the outcome of the work that we've done this term, following the direction to consider whether Llanfihangel Rhydaitham School or Welsh medium provision could be established in the Dole area. So the way we approached it was we carried out a questionnaire, and a questionnaire was sent to schools to distribute to their parents, and we also sent it to early years providers to distribute to their parents as well. The target audience here was parents and prospective parents, in order to understand if there was a demand for Welsh medium in Dole. We targeted the schools, Dole, Llanfihangel Rhydaethon School obviously, but schools also in the catchment area, and also within the Llandrindod catchment area as well, in order to understand the demand. So the questionnaire went out, and you can see from the paperwork the responses we had in. We had over 200 responses back in, and you can see from the questionnaire, it's even though it shows 98 people responded in support of Welsh medium provision in Dole, a little under that, not in support, and there's a mixed bag of comments as well. So you know, it's very interesting reading, just to see the variety of comments, both in support of establishing Welsh medium in Dole, but also raising a lot of concerns about it as well. So that was one aspect of the work. The next was then to carry out an option appraisal, considering 3 options to begin with around establishing Welsh medium in the area. And if you follow through the option appraisal work, you will be familiar with the way that we do these things. We assess then against critical success factors, then we did further analysis of the options, and then a final financial evaluation of the options. And we can then come to a conclusion, and the conclusion that we put forward, and I'd be interested in your views on these really. The conclusion that we put forward is that it is not viable to establish Welsh medium provision in Dole, and we have got a number of reasons for that, and I'm going to read the reasons out if that's okay here. So we believe that it's not viable because establishing Welsh medium provision in Dole would not meet the aspiration in the Council's West to develop a new Welsh medium provision in Powis's main centres of population in order to stimulate demand. Can I just say here as well, this was the view of the Welsh Medium Education Forum when it met earlier this week. The view very strongly that local authorities should be focusing the development of new Welsh medium provision in strategic locations where there's a critical mass, and that can then stimulate the growth. One concern we had that the capacity of the current building means that the school would continue to be a small school with no ability to grow its numbers without additional capital investment. So the capacity of the school is 36. It has 2 main class spaces and some ancillary areas. In order to expand that school, there would need to be capital investment. The 2 shortlisted options that we put forward would result in an annual cost, in an additional cost to the council of between 1 million and 1.3 million over 8 years, compared with the status quo. Again, one concern that we have would be that the school would continue to have low pupil numbers, high budget share per pupil, and teaching would take place in combined age classes due to the low pupil numbers. Attracting and recruiting staff who have the proficiency to teach in Welsh may be difficult based on evidence from other schools in the county. And high quality Welsh medium provision is available locally at Ysgol Trefonen and in Rhaeadr, Church in Wales Primary School, with places available at both schools. And transport would be provided for parents wishing to access Welsh medium provision for the children in accordance with the homeschool transport policy. So it is therefore advised that the council does not proceed with establishing Welsh medium provision in Dole, which would mean that Llanfihangel Rhydaethon School would close on the 31st of August of next year. So that sort of summarises the outcome of the piece of work that we've done. So happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Marianne. Members, I forgot to mention before opening up item 6, and this is also relevant for item 7. There has been some emails shared with us from interested parties. Members, I spoke to one of them interested parties prior to the meeting, and I was asked to raise those points in the meeting. I said I wouldn't, and that I was content that members had received emails, and that any comments that they wish to make arising out of those emails, they're welcome to do so. So that's the approach I've taken. Members, anybody indicating? Yes. Councillor Jeff first, please. Is it Councillor Jeff? Sorry, Councillor Lucy first, followed by Councillor Margaret, Councillor Allard.
Thank you. Well, in relation to the email received from the school, one of the particular points that they raised there was the capacity of the building, and that in fact it did have room for many more than 36 pupils, I think up to 80 if the mobile classroom was used. So I was just wishing to ask about that. But also just to make the point that I felt on looking at that things like the WESP stating that they wanted to develop Welsh medium education within the main centres of population, I mean, that hasn't changed since, well, certainly over the last year. So that would have been a relevant point at the time when the decision was made whether to revisit or to look at keeping Welsh medium education in this school. So it was disappointing to see that there was nothing really fresh coming in. I didn't feel to this scrutiny meeting. But yeah, I do accept that there was an email came in from parents. A lot of the points I felt that were raised in that email were to do with maintaining English medium education at that site, which we'd obviously looked at previous meetings, but the one about the capacity of the building I did think was relevant to this discussion.
Okay, I can come back in there. As I said previously, one of the reasons for suggesting it's not viable is because of the size of the building and the configuration of the building. And the comment that I made earlier that it would need capital investment in order to expand that school to a larger number of pupils. The school has 2 main class spaces. So one is 47 square meters, one is 33 square meters. There's a smaller room of about 8 square meters, and then 2 additional spaces, which one for a library and one is a library/cooking room. So with those are smaller spaces as well. So the school isn't really set up to accommodate the numbers of pupils that we would need to see the growth of Welsh medium without, and I keep stressing this, without additional capital funding. For instance, if the school was to grow to become an 86 pupil school, as suggested by the governors, that the Cylch Meithrin move into the community centre, there would be additional works required in terms of things like toilets, cloakrooms, car parking, etc. There would be a need then for the Cylch to be assessed by CIW. If it was going to move into the community centre, there would be additional works required to meet the needs of the Cylch there. There would be a need to reconfigure the caban, the mobile classroom as well. So, there is a possibility that we could grow it, but they would need additional capital investment. And I think that we've been clear about that from the start.
Thank you, Marianne. Margaret.
Sorry, yeah. Well, the first part was the same issue about capacity, and perhaps it was unfortunate that this document came, which was sort of questioning capacity from this document that was circulated, without much time to look at it closely in relation to the information we'd had. But it was perhaps also, and it's communication that somewhere is highlighted here. Now, it's never good in any community if you're threatening to change something when the school is held as the centre of the community. And that is a real issue. But looking at this as well, we must learn from all of these experiences moving forward, because somehow communication doesn't seem to have been, or they don't feel it's been adequate. That's all I'm saying. And can it be looked at retrospectively to see how we can move forward when there are these difficult situations that have to happen in transformation, so that perhaps you can avoid some of the issues. You can't avoid the one that people don't want, which is the closure, but maybe there are ways of improving that part, the communication, because it was disturbing to read this today and not have time to look at it properly. And there was one, and they felt that this meeting had come on them very quickly, and they thought this wasn't going to happen until January. Not that it would have made a great deal of difference possibly, but they felt there was more, they would have had more time to, in some form, I don't know, but it's communication, particularly in the time frame, that I think they were complaining about.
Thank you.
Because, yeah.
Go on, Margaret, carry on. Sorry,
Yeah,
I shouldn't have interrupted
I think
you.
they had thought or been told that it would be in January.
Thank you, Margaret. Emma's got her hand up. I'm going to bring Emma in, please.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Chair. Thank you, Margaret. Just to confirm, in terms of communication, you're right, Margaret. Very, very emotive. Very, very difficult for individuals in the community, particularly when you're taking forward a report, a proposal for school closure, and we must respect that. In terms of the communication that's been undertaken in respect of this piece of work, we started with communication on the 23rd of June, and we sent out information about the proposed change in implementation date for Llanfihangel Wydaethon, and that we would be looking to explore the viability of establishing a Welsh medium provision of the school. Then on the 5th of July, Cabinet agreed to assess the viability. So they made the decision that we would proceed to undertake this piece of work. So that was communicated. On the 13th of July, we also sent out a, within the summer term newsletter we published, we included information about the change in implementation date for Llanfihangel Wydaethon CP school proposal and the matter relating to Welsh medium provision. On the 18th of July, we relaunched the strategy for what we call wave 2 of the programme. So this next part of the overall strategy and its delivery. And we also include information about the work plan to assess the viability of establishing Welsh medium provision in Dolai, and a press release was issued publicising that. On the 29th of September, the engagement questionnaire was launched. That was shared with head teachers, setting leaders, early years settings, and schools across the area. And on the 30th of September, we released we did a press release issuing the information about the questionnaire. On the 3rd and 4th of October, we provided information stating that the online questionnaire had been launched to assess the viability of establishing the Welsh medium provision, and that was shared with head teachers and governors in the Transforming Education Programme update, which was issued to head teachers on the 3rd of October and governors on the 4th of October. On the 27th of October, we had the closing date for the online questionnaire. We extended that to the 6th of November. We wrote out to inform people. That was at a request of the local community, so we agreed to extend for additional week. And we also pointed people to the information that was already available online about Destination Bilingual. You'll be familiar with a campaign we'd run in previous months around the Welsh medium and really about what if you're from an English speaking home and learning through the medium of Welsh and trying to a bit of a myth buster, frequently asked questions was available. So we also on the 27th of October issued a press release informing stakeholders the closing date had been extended and again referenced the Destination Bilingual. The 22nd of November, the email was received from the head teacher asking for an update and outcome of the work relating to the viability of establishing the Welsh medium provision, and an email was provided in response that papers were expected to be considered by Cabinet in January at that time. So that's where the January element came from. But on the 7th of December, there was an email sent to the head advising that the outcome of the Welsh medium viability work would now be considered by Cabinet before Christmas, and this would be taken before scrutiny today and Cabinet on the 20th. And the email also included the draft recommendations. And then the email advised that papers would be published later on the 7th. However, the head teacher asked for some time to discuss with the school community, and so we delayed that until the 8th at their request. And then on the 8th, the press release was launched around the outcome of the papers that we would be bringing before yourselves and Cabinet. So I think it's fair to say there's actually been extensive communication over several months in relation to this. Absolutely, we don't get everything right. It's certainly not perfect, very challenging, and continuing to learn. But I think you'll find that there was extensive engagement throughout the period. Thank you.
Thanks, Emma. Councillor Allard.
Thank you, Chair. We have discussed this issue last time it came to scrutiny some months ago, and to be honest, nothing has changed. The WESP, as Marianne indicated, had clearly indicated this was the wrong location for such a school. And I can't remember, I should have looked up the comments from this scrutiny panel back in July. But the Cabinet decided to go against advice of officers and run this consultation. And it can be, if you look at big page 26, end of 26, beginning of 27, it's a summary of the option 1, 2, and 3. And there is not one tick in any of the boxes. At the bottom, it's 0, 0, 0. And I can't believe that a Cabinet would push such an option forward to be considered. I don't know if officers or councillors can ever tell me that an option appraisals has come back with 0 scores against those options. It's a really difficult time for the community to go through a school closure, and the community has just been put through another emotional ringer on this occasion, and the Cabinet should be ashamed of themselves. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Allard. Any comment from the portfolio?
In moving this forward, I was taking advantage. No, advantage is not the word. I was taking my own advice as Chair of Scrutiny in the previous administration, that there was need for detailed exploration of this to rule it out as an option. We have since seen information from the census that gives weight to the fact that there is a Welsh-speaking community, and there has been an increase in Welsh medium speakers in the area. And I felt it was essential that we undertook this piece of work before an opportunity was lost completely. So I stand by the decision to explore that. And if, as you recall, those of you that were watching Cabinet yesterday, it was noted that a judicial review being outstanding has resulted in a delay in that proposal. And Lynette, I think, will come in to clarify this momentarily, that had we not delayed for this reason, we would have had to delay for others. So this gave us an opportunity to explore this opportunity and option in the East Radnorshire area in that time frame.
Marianne.
Yeah, just to say on the option appraisal, whilst none of the options scored positively against the critical success factors, the two of the options did have a number of question marks, and that meant that we needed to explore them further. So you know, that is the purpose of taking this kind of approach to option appraisal. But also, as part of the whole piece of work, it was to hear and understand whether there was demand out there, something that we hadn't done before. So I think as part of as a collective piece of work, you know, it was important that we heard the voices of parents and prospective parents. But yeah, I can take your point on the option appraisal. It doesn't come out as very positive, but we had to explore those further. So.
But
I'm going to take a comment from Lynette first, and then I'll let you come back in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I was just going to come in on the issue of the JR process, just to say, as the decision was taken by Cabinet last week regarding Mount Street and Craddock, the Mount Street's there because of the JR proceedings. There is a backlog. We were also in a situation in the summer term where we were after Purda, then we were the JR then was after that, so time was pushing on. And if we're looking at delays, we have, you know, for the sake of the children, we have to look at, really, in my opinion, a year, because mid-year is not suitable to really move children. So the delay there, and just to say as well, in terms of the JR, we were still awaiting the outcomes of those JRs when Cabinet were taking that decision. Since then, the JRs for Llanfihangel Rhydython have been successful, and shows that the process that was followed has been upheld in court of law, and we have seen that Powys County Council has followed due process in the consultation period prior to. So during that period, we may have had to delay because we hadn't got the outcome of the JRs, which we now do have for Llanfihangel Rhydython at that time.
Councillor Aled.
Yeah, just a very quick comment. A lot of was said about the Welsh language in East Radnorshire, or east of the main cross gates, as I'd say, down the main road. But there wasn't enough concentration on potential Welsh medium within, right on the border with in the population centres there within this report. But that's just a side comment, really. You know, anybody would know with a I choose my words carefully, really. But it was really clear at the outset that Dolai was not a good location for a Welsh medium. We just don't have the population there. If there was going to be a Welsh school there, they would have to be bussed in from across the county. It was a non-starter, and the portfolio holder knows that. I'm sorry to say. As far as the judicial reviews, they have come at a huge cost, not only to the finances of Powys County Council, but a huge cost to the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Aled. Councillor Jeremy.
Thanks. Yes, just in terms of the financial analysis of this situation, I think I'm right, but you can probably confirm that the costs of school transport are all taken into account when looking at the comparison of the finances, so that any additional costs of transport are sort of deducted from any gains that you get from closing the school. But sort of moving further on from that and looking at other sort of non-monetary knock-on effects, do we take into account things like the increased time that children may spend actually travelling to and from school, and the reduction in the opportunity for active travel for children going to school, and potential increases in air pollution and so on? And then moving one step further on than that, obviously with the Future Generations bill that we've got, I would expect that all of the decisions like this that we would take as a local authority do get measured up against the Future Generations bill. And I may have missed something in the paperwork. Do we actually have a process for doing an assessment for that and working out what the carbon, the effect on carbon emissions are and other things when we're making these decisions?
Yeah. Chair, shall I come in?
Yes, please do.
So, Councillor Jeremy, we have to undertake an impact assessment, and within the impact assessment, ours is an integrated impact assessment, so it includes elements across the Future Generations Commission, but also the Welsh language, and we're strengthening it currently from a climate perspective, so that it needs to be strengthened on that aspect. We do take into account transport in terms of our calculations, as well as things like catering and cleaning also. And I think it's important to note that we also look at distances from, so the underlying information that we have, we're clear about where children live currently, we're clear about which schools they go to, and we're also clear about the distance travelled in respect of their closest school, the nearest school, and we also measure then where would their nearest, so depend on the language choice. So if we think about in relation to this in respect of Welsh medium, where is the next, the closest Welsh medium provision or dual stream provision? We can also look at that when we're looking at English medium also. Ordinarily, we've got a significant number of schools across the county, and actually in many instances children don't actually attend their nearest school. So normally when we bring proposals forward, actually it would be better for the environment if they were to attend their nearest school. But we appreciate that people's lives, people operate different ways, people's parents' commitments, maybe the before and after school arrangements in terms of family, friends, etc. And also when we look at buses, quite often it's not about putting more buses on the road. It might be about filling empty spaces on the buses that are already running, but that depends on the logistics, and it's school by school, and it's quite complicated. But we look at those, or alternatively, it might be that we put a bigger bus on the school if there are insufficient places. And our policy for transport also, we don't have the same level of Welsh medium provision available across the county in the same way that we do English medium provision. And so our transport policy currently will enable us to transport children to their nearest Welsh medium provision, which may be further away from their English medium provision if their language choice is Welsh. And then in terms of the CO2 calculations, I think there's more that we need to do around that, if I'm honest, Councillor Jeremy. So we've got the financial element, but in terms of the CO2, and as we move forward as an organisation, our calculations, these are all elements that we can build into our standard impact assessments for any policy decision. Does that answer your question about?
Thanks. Yes. Well, yes. I'm just one final thing. In terms of the amount of time children spend travelling to school, is that something that you actually have as a sort of as a target, or would include in weighing up options?
We do look at the time spent, so we're able to look at that on an individual basis as well. So we've got something quite sophisticated behind the scenes that our statistician has put together for us, and we're able to profile and look at that. And we'll also look at what's deemed suitable in terms of 45 minutes springs to mind. We don't want any children travelling beyond that 45 minutes or in the region of that. In many instances, and in the case of this paper that we're discussing right now, how close, Marianne, is Trevonen as an example, as an alternative, and Rhaeadr to the area? We got that to hand because it's within the existing catchment area, Councillor Jeremy, so we wouldn't be asking children to travel out. They could access Welsh medium education within the catchment to which they already access their education and live.
Thanks.